So, good morning, everyone. This is Ali Azzuddin from Fourth Generation for Education, our special day about 21st century skills or approaches to learning. This is our second session today. The morning session started with Kevin Bartlett, and now I'm so happy to have Tala Massarweh. Good morning, Tala.
Good morning, Ali. Thank you for hosting me in this webinar.
So let me just tell the participant quickly about our procedures. And so you can use the Q&A feature to send any question to Tala. In that chat, please feel free to introduce yourself and to tell us where you are watching from by clicking on to everyone. We are also live on Zoom and on Facebook. So for all the people who are watching also from Facebook, I will be able to check your answers, and I will be able also to check your question and your interaction. So people Tala are watching from Scotland. This is a very early morning for them. From Iraq, from different Arab countries, Dubai, UAE, and so Saudi Arabia. I would like to welcome everyone. The day is full with ideas, and we will be together in Arabic and in English today. We have also a session in French during the week for all our French speakers. So Tala, I'm going to give you the lead now. I know you prepared a very interactive session, so let us know first a little bit about who you are.
Thank you, Ali, for the introduction, and thank you for everyone who's joining us from everywhere. My name is Tala. I take pride in being the third culture citizen. I've been in the education for 23 years, mainly as an MYP and DP educator. With the IB, I do lots of things, some of them like being a workshop leader and recently being a program leader. Me and Ali go back in time. We used to deliver workshops together, and I'm honored to receive such an invitation from Ali and Fourth Generations for Education. So thank you all for being with us today, and thank you for all of you who are waking up early around the globe to be with us today.
So, or it's their afternoon, depending on where they are watching. Let me say hello to Vishal. Vishal is watching from Tokyo, Japan, on Facebook. And you see, this is the beauty maybe of the COVID, where we are able to meet virtually, and we are bringing all the people from everywhere to connect and to learn with us about problem solving in this webinar. So what do we have? The first question is an interactive one. So what did you prepare, Tala?
Okay, I would like for the participants to let us know how often do they use problem-solving approaches or skills in the classroom?
And so I launched the poll. It's on their screen, and they will be able to find the 4 options. So I use them always, I occasionally use them, I rarely use them, or I don't use them. We are talking about problem solving this morning, and how often do you use the problem solving skills? The people who are watching on Facebook, you can just answer using the chat feature on Facebook. And I'm giving the participant a few more seconds so we can get more data about the audience, Tala. And I'm going to stop the poll, and I'm going to give you the results. So 41% from the people who are watching, they use them always. 56% they use them occasionally, and we have 4% they rarely use them. So we hope that after this webinar, they will be able to embed the problem-solving skills in their lessons. So this is a little bit about our audience, Tala.
Thank you so much, Ali. And I would like to say special tribute to all the people joining us from Lebanon. I know it's quite difficult sometimes with the electricity cuts, so thank you so much. If you lost connection to the webinar, I'm sure Ali will provide the recorded session later on. So thank you so much.
This is a special hello to all the people watching from Lebanon.
Thank you. So 40% always use them in the classroom, 56% occasionally, and 4% rarely. So let's check what do we mean by problem-solving techniques and reevaluate if we will ask this question again at the end of this session to notice how often do we use them if we have the same answer in a way. So some of the guiding questions in this session today include the following. What is a problem-solving approach? What factors could affect our ability to adopt or implement problem-solving approaches in our classrooms? How to build mind habits to help nurture problem-solving skills? What could you do differently in your class after attending this webinar? And what questions you might have after our presentation?
Very good. Very interesting questions. And then this is again a reminder for the people, if they have any question, to send it in the Q&A and in the chat to choose everyone, because we have plenty of interaction to be done throughout the webinar.
So we've said we've used them like with different percentages. If you can provide a simple definition in the chat box of what is it when you say you're doing problem solving? What is a problem solving approach that you are adopting in your classroom? What do we mean? Do we all mean the same thing when we say problem solving approaches? Feel free to put down your ideas in the chat box, and I'm sure Ali will share with me. So what is a problem-solving approach?
I'm looking at the name of the participants, and I can see some people, they were here in the morning session, some familiar faces. They always attend our webinars. And so we are waiting to hear from you. What is a problem-solving approach? We are checking your prior knowledge. We're modeling best practices, even online. And then we're going to share aloud some of your ideas. So according to NEO, allowing the student to solve their problems independently. According to Dalal, hello Dalal, thinking through the procedure to go throughout when addressing an issue we deal with in life. And so Dalal is opening the definition to the real life. A problem I have in my classroom is a student not understanding the learning targets. So I have started breaking them down. So again, this is a different perspective of the problem solving from Cynthia. And then I continue, we have learned how to learn. It's a problem solving approach. We introduce knowledge as a way of solving life problem rather than abstract knowledge, so making it more concrete. There is a lot of ideas in the chat, and I'm trying to pick these ideas. So brainstorming to find solution to problem related to life. Giving opportunity to the student to solve these problems, allowing the student to be involved and take action. According to Rachel, they are open-ended question, and I'm going also to involve the people watching on Facebook. Systematic approach to solve real-world problem, or we have steps to solve a problem. And then I love the strategy. You go and ask 3 friends before you come and ask your teacher. Hello, Noor. Noor is saying provoking critical thinking in the classroom. So this is a little bit what our audience think about what is a problem-solving approach.
I think, Ali, your audience is ready to give the webinar. Like, I should step aside and just observe. Wonderful, wonderful ideas. You have included some of the strategies that I intended to talk about today. I love the one in particular about putting something that connects to real life and relating it to the lesson to ignite their thinking among others, which includes collaboration, checking prior knowledge, and even breaking down the problems into chunks in order for students to scaffold the problem itself. So quite interesting thoughts. So thank you, Ali, for reading all of these. Thank you for participating
And let me tell you, the chat on Facebook and here on Zoom is on fire. So
okay, so that's good. That's good. Okay, so I'm gonna start by this, and I would like to ask you, and feel free to put the number that represents your answers in the chat box. Like, if you consider these steps into the problem-solving approach, which diagram, 1 or 2, do you think is more reasonable, and why, in your opinion, you think that? So both diagrams show steps of problem solving, from defining the problem, determining the cause, identifying solution, maybe prioritizing solutions, selecting a particular solution to implement, evaluating that solution, reviewing the results, and maybe you decide if you want to adopt another solution or stick with the current solution. That's stage one.
So I'm happy. I'm happy to read in that chat that all of our audience are saying number 2, because it's a cycle. We need to go back. We need to problem solving is not linear, and we have a lot of explanation about why they have selected number 2.
Okay, so that's good. So it's a cyclical process, but you can start any point and you can revert back depending on where you are in the thinking. Now, there could be some factors affecting this. This is not straightforward. This is not as easy as it looks. If you consider some of the factors, I'm going to skip and come back. No, sorry. If we want to take back the participants' contribution with the real life connection, it links automatically to creating the environment of contextual learning. Research says that students will respond more to problems and will be able to solve them if they feel connected to a real life scenario, when they find the relevance to what they're experiencing in the classroom. Another thing that could affect having a problem-solving environment is giving the students the culture of the classroom and allowing the students the choice and voice in the problems they want to choose. And this, I know it could be debatable in terms of inquiry and what is inquiry. And I would just like keep in mind the differences between the guided, the structured, and the open-ended inquiry. We're not saying that from the beginning, give the students choice and voice in selecting. It's a process, but at some point, whenever we want the students to really embark on approaching a problem and solving it systematically, we will need to think of the culture, the agreements in the classroom, the collaboration norms, and our adaptability to what is happening around us in the world, and how do we bring them into the classroom. I know quite of you are familiar with these terminologies, even with the color coding that I'm using. So my question to you, considering creating a problem-solving culture in the classroom, what factors could affect a problem-solving approach? Do you anticipate any issues, limitations, barriers to creating problem-solving approaches in your classroom? One of the participants mentioned students not understanding learning targets. So this is a barrier to having such approach in the classroom. Do we have other barriers, limitations that could hinder creating such a culture in the classroom?
So a new question, a new interaction via Facebook and via Zoom, and the answers started. The first one said a factor that could affect a problem-solving approach is our student, they want only to find the right answer. And this is a culture a little bit in the Arab world, Tala, where mistakes are not allowed. Another problem is the language barrier. It can be the curriculum itself, lack of confidence regarding the teacher definition of the role. Are they an expert or are they a facilitator? Interesting point of view. I can see also the language coming at different times as a language barrier. I can see the word culture is coming also in different chats. The prior understanding, the lack of knowledge. We have classes with big number of students. So all these are ideas and factors that they could affect a problem-solving approach. And so Hannah is referring to math, and I teach math in the middle school. Students face a difficulty in applying their math concepts in the real-life problem. And so sometimes enthusiasm and motivation of the student can be also a problem. What do you think, Tala? Do you have the same list? Do you have other factors? Let's hear from you.
I think that most of the contributions from the chat fit into one of these
Categories.
big categories. So well, I'm going to start with cognitive biases. So basically, some cognitive bias is a limitation to objective thinking, is when our brain perceives information from the lens of our personal or experience lens, which makes us not able to see the whole thing. Sometimes with cognitive biases, we have certain examples. For example, anchoring. Like I will look at, if I'm reading a news, I will look at a particular part of the news that matches my personal experience with the topic. Another thing is confirmation. I look for things that confirm my opinion rather than looking at what could be other options. And the fact that the brain works in a way that matches what is happening around us to something familiar. So to adopt a problem-solving approach, we need to train our brain and the brains of our students not to ignore prior experience, but use it as a foundation to create new knowledge, to ability that we call transfer. To what extent I can move beyond my personal experience to a personal situation or a belief system in order to move forward. And it involves a lot of interactions with the peers, which could be another limitation to the problem. Some people mentioned misconceptions and assumptions, and also the personality of the teacher and the student themselves. We don't like to call it being stubborn or thinking that we don't have a culture of mistakes, but in some cultures, mistakes are opportunities for learning. In other cultures, it is not taken lightly. Language barrier is always a problem, but we are all language teachers and we should look at that. So if we are thinking of, we're trying something in our classroom, a routine or an approach, or even if we're having a problem-solving meeting at the school where teachers are working together to solve a problem, so many different factors affect the ability to reach a solution or a win-win situation or a consensus. So the question is, to what extent are we aware of the different elements in our classroom, and we remove the barrier one by one to create such a culture? So Ali, I don't know, what do you think with this? Have you experienced the situation where we seem like the solution to a problem is quite straightforward, but the interactions between the team handling the problem, whether it's students or teachers, is hindering the solution itself?
Yeah, I agree on this idea, Tala, because when we are talking, you referred to it earlier, we said we need a culture. And so if the culture is agreeing that mistakes are allowed, we learn from mistakes, and then this is the essential component of the learning. And if we build this trust and confidence and we make the real life connection very clear and very explicit, I think we will be able to move forward in the implementation of these skills and embedding them in our curriculum.
I like the use of the term explicit, so because I will
refer to it later. Let me say hello to Raja, our friend. She's watching from Facebook, and all the people on Facebook. And we have a new question and a new interaction for you. So what is the question about, Tala?
The question is how to build mind habits to help nurture problem-solving skills in the classroom. So what are the techniques, strategies, and the tools that you use in the classroom in order to build this nurturing environment for problem solving?
I like Tala. I think you're modeling also the problem solving in the webinar. So first you ask them what are the factors that hinder the implementation of the skills, and now you are asking them to provide you with solutions. So they are solving the problem by themselves. Yeah.
Yes, I think if you want to teach something, you need to model it yourself. Otherwise, it's not that authentic.
Yes. So the first word about what are these habits that we need to build in the classroom, it's about modeling. It's about the inquiry technique and the curiosity. It's about modeling again from Facebook, a message from Facebook, making the visible thinking and using the routines. We will be referring to these in few minutes, Ahlam. We need to have the student at the center. What else do we have? The reflection, the meditation, raising curiosity, using explanation game, asking question, supporting student agency, and then strategies to focus on how to answer the questions and maybe how to ask good questions as well.
So thank you, Ali, for sharing. Okay, again, the same approach. So questioning, asking, involving students, having brain teasers, having a positive mindset. And the mindset is a really interesting thing here, because to what extent are we developing students with a growth mindset who are able not only to accept their own perspective, but other people's perspective. And this is very important in problem solving. Inclusion also is an interesting approach, beginning with the end in mind, having clear set expectations in the classroom. So giving objectives with questions, and this is an approach with concept-based teaching and learning, rather than just putting the objective itself, pose it as a question which stimulates thinking. So these are all valid tools and strategies, and I'm sure when implemented in the classroom, it contributes to building those mind habits. I would like to also stress on one of the contributions of the participants from before, which is modeling and consistency. Research says that you need 21 days to build a habit. So when adopting any of these techniques, and which is no secret to the visible thinking routines by Project Zero Harvard, you need to think of the following. To what extent have you implemented a particular technique, tool, or strategy for some time to allow the students the time to build it, to become a routine in their brain? They say to teach a skill, you need repetition in a way for at least 21 days for your brain to be able to master that skill. So when trying new technique, how can you try it in a way that you have this element of consistency? The visible thinking routines are something that has been in the field of education for some time now. We hear a lot about them, and they range from those who handle core thinking routines like I used to think, now I think, connect, extend, challenge, to those who are basically tackling exploring ideas and perspective taking. So what I'm going to present now is something new. It's all can be found on Google by a simple click on visible thinking routines. It's just an idea that you will see it happen when you see the students practicing it. So all the images that I will present now is taken from other educators or myself who have tried these in the classroom. So you will see things written in the students' handwriting. Some of these routines for introducing and exploring ideas include Think, Puzzle, Explore, that I will present an example for it later on. Using the compass map, zooming in and zooming out of the problem. Others could be used for synthesizing and organizing ideas. Some of them is Connect, Extend, Challenge, for example. I used to think, now I think, color, symbol, image, and many, many others that you can find on the Harvard University Project Zero website. If you are interested in a particular one, you go to the website, you have a whole sheet for each one of these techniques describing when and how and examples. So there is explicit reference there. I would like to provide an explicit reference to this one, which is connect, extend, and challenge. And why do I think this thinking routine is important? And I'm referring to Ali's notion of the word explicit. This particular routine allows the students to make explicit connections between their prior knowledge, something they've learned or experienced before, into the new situation that we want them to think of when it comes to solving a particular problem. A lot of research, including Kolb's model and Dewey's model, when we talk about experiential learning and problem solving, is that the students need to make connections to prior experience and using it only as a stimulus that they can build on, seeing perspectives from this new situation and then arriving to a solution. We're saying prior knowledge is very important, past experience is very important, but not to be used as a lens to see the problem with it, but a stepping stone. So we take what we know, we filter it in a different direction. So when we ask the students to connect in this routine, we're asking them for that prior knowledge. And then we're asking them to extend their learning and tell us how this building on the past and learning in the present helped you to extend your knowledge. And then we also add another element of reflection: to what extent this new thing challenge your thinking and how can you take it further. So you can do it simply by writing the question on the board. You can give the students cardboards, and it's basically allowing, this is honoring prior knowledge, prior experience, and using it as a vehicle in order to help in the problem solving in the classroom. Another example, and again, it looks more suited for primary, but this one is stepping inside, stepping outside, and stepping back in. This technique helps the students to see other people's perspectives. One of the limitations to problem solving is that people look at things from their own perspective and everybody thinks their perspective is right. So when we apply this technique, stepping in and out and back, we're allowing ourselves to see things from different perspectives. When we step in, we would like to see, feel, and experience what that person is believing, feeling, that is leading to having such a perspective. When I'm stepping out, I am also want to learn to understand that perspective of the person. And when I step back, I'm asking myself this question: to what extent experiencing other people's perspective affected my own perspective? And when you start with that perspective changing, you're kind of allowing the people in that problem solving bubble to understand each other, and chances are they are going to arrive at a solution while respecting everybody and making sure everybody has a voice in the conversation. Another approach is also to cherishing a perspective is circles of viewpoint. So if we are handling about a situation, event, or a solution or a problem, it's very important that each member of that group voices out their opinion and let that opinion become, or thinking become visible. So circles of viewpoint, like what does Tala think of this? What does Ali think of this? What does Miss Dalal think of that? What does Miss Amy think of that? So we put our thinking on paper. By just putting it on paper, we're honoring that person's brain, even if we didn't land the same solution at the end. But the fact that the opinion, the perspective was honored and it is visible. And this is one way also to create a culture of respect. And it's very important when we talk about norms of collaboration. So everyone's input is important. And we start from there in order to reach different ground for the problem solving. Another thing that could be helpful when we are in those problem solving meetings is a technique also by Project Zero, which is what makes you say that. And this helps us to provide evidential reasoning. Like there is a lot of research about impact and evidencing learning. Just because I taught someone the thing doesn't mean that they've learned it. And there's even a funny cartoon by Snoopy. I've taught him how to whistle, but he doesn't know how to whistle. I said I taught him, but I didn't say he learned. So there is a difference between teaching someone something and they're actually learning it. And when we want to talk about impact that we have on students and evidencing learning, and even when we're looking at perspective, we need to ask the people, what makes you say that? What evidence do you have that supports your idea or your solution to the problem? And when we drift the focus away from the I, the we, the he, and the personal egos, and we focus on the evidence that we have to support an idea, you will notice a drift in the dynamics and a more constructive approach to problem solving. You will have more buy-in because the focus is on the idea, on the evidence, and not just on the individuals in that meeting or in that group setting in the classroom. Another one is think, puzzle, and explore. And this one also respects prior knowledge and using it to generate ideas and questions. Many of you mentioned asking questions and approach to problem solving, and it's quite interesting. And it's the way to do it. And then exploring the situation. How would we take it further and explore it? And this way, we're providing vehicles for deeper inquiry and thinking. Now, Ali, I'm going to take a break and ask you, what do you think? Which ones do you think you could use in the classroom? And if we can check what other people think. Ali, you're putting.
Yes, I have a question first for you. So questions started coming, and then let me say, as you mentioned at the beginning, Tala, that each routine is used for an idea or is used for a purpose. And so here it's very important when we are sitting in the collaborative planning meeting and we want to decide which routine we are going to use, we need to align it with our main objective. So are we checking the prior knowledge, or are we checking how they're thinking change? And this is very important. And I always say that when you introduce a new routine, take the time so this routine is really practiced by the student and they really understand it before introducing a new one. And so if you want to take away from this workshop and you want to implement something tomorrow or maybe during the week, don't take all these routines. Pick one, try it, explain it, teach it, reteach it, and then make sure that whenever you are telling the student think, puzzle, explore, for example, they are able to explain it by themselves, okay? So now I'm getting the first question, and the question is about a student with difficulties or challenging student, Tala. Do you think that problem-solving skills also, they are also effective with a challenging student? And can you give us an example, a real-life example?
Yes, of course, I think it's doable. First, I would like to say thank you to Iman Awad. When it comes from my teacher, I have to read it, okay? It is, Iman is saying that it is a pitfall for us to assume that just because we taught the students something, that they will be proficient at it. And this is very deep, because when you talk about all the approaches to learning skills in the classroom, the question is, if I taught it, like, did I give the students a proper opportunities for them to practice with it, and to what extent I assessed them gaining that skill? So do I do formative assessments to check gaining skills, or do I assume that the students already know that to do the skills? So what is for us as educators, how do we make sure that what we say we do, what we taught, is actually happening? So it all comes back to evidencing learning. Now back to your question and the inclusion and students with barriers to learning. So if we want to consider the 4 principles of inclusion, Ali, assessing prior knowledge, okay, affirming identity and building self-esteem, scaffolding learning, and extending learning. For that student, the problem needs scaffolding. Okay, we need to start maybe by using graphic organizers. So while other students can have it right away thinking of a solution, that students needs a little bit of structures to help their brain recall prior knowledge. So a use of graphic organizers with directed mini questions, you break up the task into smaller ones, graphic organizer on an A3, asking particular questions, let the students put their writing on a paper, and make sure when you group them with other students that those students are not that competitive and they allow him the time to think and explore. It could be done prior to that session with the students where that scaffolding takes place. So the students join the group already ready with some ideas, because he will need time to process the information, more time than the others maybe. Also, when you're dealing with gifted students, because it's not always students who need more attention, students who are gifted and who will be done with that in no time, think of ways to extend that problem for them so that they don't feel bored, and that you're catering for all, not just for the medium in your class.
I usually add to this question, Tala, that students, if they are showing problem behavior or problem related to behavior, that's mean maybe the content is not engaging, and maybe the problem that we need to offer to these students is something that is connected to their interest, to their curiosity, to their question. And once it's connected to them, it's personal, they will be involved in finding the solution, right?
Yes, the choice and voice and agency,
Yeah.
ownership of them. They need to feel they are equal. If they
Yeah.
can't feel they're equal, then we're creating an issue with the collaboration. And with some schools, adaptive schools use norms of collaboration, and a very important skill of it is the ability to pause, and also to help the students that when a solution comes up as a result of the discussion, it doesn't matter whose idea was it. It's only amazing when you start throwing out ideas and at the end nobody has ownership of the idea, because all of us have that ownership. So it doesn't mean that if I brought up a solution that it is the solution. It is when me, you, Iman, and others talk to each other and come up with this idea, and this is when the idea is worth exploring. So it's not
I'm
about
happy to see that on Facebook, our attendees are asking questions and they are answering them. So they are interacting, and you will be able to see the Facebook maybe later, Tala.
what are some of the questions. So
Some
they're
of the
asking.
questions. So one of the questions that is answered also by other attendees, what routine we can use to enhance young learners' writing skills?
Writing skills.
So so here I would say, like, usually to promote writing skills with the lower primary kids, I usually use the open-ended question. I use wordless book. I model how do I write for my student, and then you need to use things that promotes creativity, and it opens door for different ideas and different perspectives. So this is from my experience working with the lower primary and the primary students.
From my experience, claim support question is one of the techniques that we could use. Compass points is something we can use. Circle of viewpoints, we can use that. With the young ones, I also, Ali, concur with you. I said, I used to think, now I think puzzle share, the pictures and the examples that you've listed are also used in some schools, and teachers find that many, even in primary, adopt the readers and writers workshop, and there's one important thing is writing for different purposes, which is also an ATL skill. So you can choose a purpose for that writing, and then you drill enough times and provide them with examples, and then allow them the time to think. I see also many participants here in the chat are thinking about, are mentioning some of the tools that they're using, which is basically, again, see, think, wonder, the three C's, the question. So it seems to be on the same energy level, if we want to say.
Yes, I have more questions, but I'm keeping them for another break. So if you want to continue, Tala, with your slides and the content that you are sharing with us today.
Okay, thank you, Ali. This is another one for the math teachers. It's not a visible thinking routine, but it's a simple routine that you can do before, during, and after having a math problem. So plan, solve, and check. And as a biology teacher, also I use it with my students. So if you have a particular problem, first you need to think, have a plan, then solve it, then you check your understanding. And this is simple, but very very effective. And considering, is there another way to find out the answer? How do we make sure that the answer that we got makes sense? And how do we reevaluate our own thinking? So this is again simple: plan, solve, check, and it helps the students to think before, during, and after a particular event. Now, considering these ideas and the ideas in the chats and the things that we will check later on, what could you do differently in your classes? Which particular strategy would you think? What could you do next when you go back to the classroom Sunday or Monday? And would you think that what you've exposed to do today, like it's just a taster of everything, would help you think differently about problem solving in the classroom?
So Sanchita is referring to solo taxonomy and the use of solo taxonomy in the classroom, introducing it maybe, or taking it further if you've already started using it, Sanchita. So what else we can do differently in our class? And after all these ideas shared by Tala, what would you like to take to your classroom? So according to Raja, we are going to reflect on our current practices and then maybe design an action plan, a personal action plan for all the students. Include more graphic organizer in a systematic way. Ask open-ended question and push the thinking of the student. The action circle from Manar. Manar, maybe if you can explain it more, what do you mean by the action circle? It's a new term for me. Introducing more the visible thinking routine, having again the whole idea of action plan. The differentiation. So we talked also about differentiation a little bit, use more visuals, and then brainstorming activities at the beginning to check the prior knowledge, help and support the small groups by scaffolding the learning. So all these are ideas that can be taken back to the classes.
Thank you, Ali, for this. And I would like to bring the attention, all these ideas are interesting, especially the solo taxonomy, building on Bloom's work, and all of these valuable things. We need to keep in mind, like the new thing in inquiry when we say these days is something called appreciative inquiry. And I was wondering if any of the webinar participants have heard or used the term appreciative inquiry before.
So yes or no, appreciative inquiry. Have you heard about this word? So you have plenty of no's, which is good. So you are going to have something new also to be taken and to be maybe tried.
So if I'm not going to go into appreciative inquiry, that will need a webinar by itself.
Webinar.
But it's an idea. It's a new idea. It's not very new, but it's an approach of thinking of problems that involves certain stages like definition, discovery, dream, design, and delivery of a particular situation. And it's quite useful among learners. And when you say learners, it's not just students, but it's teachers and leaders in the school, so all stakeholders. So appreciative inquiry is something you might consider reading about, and Dalal is saying it's a wonderful approach but needs community commitment. Thank you, Dalal. Yes, everything needs commitment per se, and it needs understanding from the community, and then if everybody is committing to the principles of it, it has the ability to become a transformative tool. And what we want is to transform our classrooms using a bridge strategy, starting from where we are right now, not leaving everything that we do without removing the foundation, but slowly transforming and crossing the bridge to the other side where we want to become. So starting from what we do best and thinking ahead, how we can transform the classrooms and this culture in the school and taking
So
it
Tala,
forward.
before you continue, Dalal has a question related to all this kind of discussion that we are doing. And she's asking, what practices have you found to be effective with teachers when you are creating a culture that focuses on problem solving?
Okay, I love this question, Dalal. Okay, and here's this. Okay, I would have no, not a secret. I will have a board in the school where I will write what is problem solving, or invite staff to a professional learning session and put that thing on a paper, just A3 paper. What is problem solving? And you will see, if you've done it or you can do it, what is learning at the school, what is problem solving, what is whatever you want the teachers to have that consensus,
common understanding.
Yes. And you will notice that no one person will have the same definition, and this is where you start. You need to start by having people understand. So that's what we say, what is problem solving to you? So what is appreciative inquiry? What is learning at your end? What is problem solving? It's teachers in their teams could respond to that question, and your school can generate their own definition of what is problem solving. What does it look like? What does it tell? Like when I go to the classroom, what would I see? What would I hear? And what I feel? You start from the foundation. If people have a common understanding of something, then you will see it happen. Okay, you will see it happen without an assessment, because sometimes they say, assess it if you want to see it happen. No, I disagree. I think if you have people having common understanding of a particular something, raising awareness about what is it that we want to do collectively as a school, let it be learning or collaboration or appreciative inquiry or problem solving, is very important in determining the next steps. So my question to you, to what extent the teachers in the school have the same understanding? So you could do it through a staff session, you can do it through surveys, questions, but human interactions are usually very interesting. And now that we're back to face in Qatar, you might put them and ask them, keeping 1.5 meter, of course, but what is it? What is it problem solving? Each person can put it on a post-it note, and you have one particular space in the school where they can just pin it up, and then, read all of that and try to find connections, maybe assemble them together. And it would be interesting also to allow the student council and the students to come up with their own definition of what is problem solving. And in their opinion, are they given opportunities to develop a problem solving approach? Are the problems presented to them matching their interest in the real world? Because many of you mentioned something at the beginning about enthusiasm and motivation. Research says students will learn if it is matching what they're interested in. A simple example, teaching them Arabic. Arabic is difficult. However, I bet you if the text for Arabic talks about Lionel Messi or Ronaldo, students will start learning Arabic because they want to find out. So it is meeting them into what is it relevant to them, what is it that they think is important, and taking it further. So I don't know. I don't know if I
Dalal is
answered
happy
your
with
question.
your answer. So,
Okay.
and people are happy and they want more sessions. So remember, we still have 4 sessions for today, and we have Arabic session, French session. So for all our multilingual speakers, we're trying also to provide you with webinars based on your language profile and based also on the different time zones. So we start at 9 a.m. Dubai time, and we stay till like 7 p.m. in the afternoon. Tala, one more question?
Yes, the last question. What is on your mind now? What questions you might have after attending this session? I will keep to the time because Ali has a long day.
Yeah.
So what other questions you might have? We might not be able to answer them, but we'll see if we can find the answer and present it to you.
Good. So can we have a day practicing or talking about inclusion? We did on our YouTube, so you can check a whole day on special education needs. So if you missed it, all the webinars are available. And let me tell you, so I'm going to announce it now, Tala. Put on your agenda 11th of December. So the last Saturday for this academic year or for this year will be on well-being. And so we will be looking at well-being from different perspectives in French, in Arabic, and in English. The program will be published soon, and we are going to share with you also the dates, the speaker, and the timing of the session. So Betty is mentioning an important comment about how to balance the curriculum expectation, parent expectation, and all these ATL, and specifically the problem-solving one. So what do you think, Tala?
I would ask you, what is curriculum to you? Because curriculum to me is not only the coherent curriculum previously taught, assessed, written. It is everything that happens to the students in the school. It is what they do in the activities. It's what they do in the student council, the services action, the pastoral program. All of that is curriculum, whether it is explicit or the hidden curriculum. So everything, you need to think of the students' experience at the school as holistic. So my question to you, to what extent is everything else that the students do in school supporting and fostering the learning that takes place in the class? When you answer that, you will find the answer for the balance, because to what extent is everybody working together as one unit in order to help the students master these skills? Remember, we're preparing them for jobs that don't exist yet. So we need to have that agility in their thinking, and we need to utilize everything that we're doing in the school community to make that a worthy experience for them. Some people say,
I usually also ask the question, why do we still come to school? And so we come to school to learn how to learn and to learn how to solve this problem. And yes, Betty, parents will still ask about math, basic skills, about reading and about writing, but how we are teaching these skills in a real life situation, connected to the student culture, connected to their interest, connected to their likes. And here is the whole idea of collaboration, working together as a team. So when we enter the classroom and we are giving these learning experiences to the student, they are more authentic.
I would like to say to Betty as well is that think of those list of expectations from the coordinator as this is your set target, this is what you want, but think of these skills as a way to revive that curriculum. Like, you can only bring it to life, what is written, those expectations, if you practice skill-based learning. So think of them as the tools to put life into that curriculum on paper. This is how you see it happening in the classroom. These are vehicles.
Yeah, I like this comment also about parents are not on board. And if parents are not on board, we need to train them. We need to invite them to our classes. They need to know about these new ideas regarding learning and teaching, mini PDs, mini conferences. When they come and they attend a student-led conference, this is your argument to tell them, look what we are doing and how we are changing and how your students or how your kids are becoming more confident, they know where they are and what do they want. So all these are ways to explore and to collaborate and to co-construct with the parents. I remember when I moved to the UAE 10 years ago, and then it was very hard to invite parents for professional development. So do you know, Tala, what did I do? So I embedded my mini PD for the parents in the events. So imagine we invited the mothers for the Mother Day. And so before we start with the celebration, because all the mothers were attending, they want to see their daughters and their kids presenting, I had a 10-minute, 15-minute telling them, how did we prepare for this? How this was a learning experience. And it was not just a end product, it was a process. Same thing, very soon we are going to celebrate the National Day. So what if the National Day celebration, it's done as an inquiry or as a big problem and we want to solve it, and then we share with the parents how we solved this problem or how we organized this celebration where everyone was involved and everyone collaborated. So these are some of my ideas.
Thank you, Ali. Wonderful ideas. And I think parents will have buy-in if they understand. So think of them as partners, because if they are on the receiving end without understanding, they will question, because we've trained them to be critical. and to think about things. So involve them. Some schools even they invite parents into the classrooms to see what's happening. So make what you do in the classrooms visible to them. Newsletters, testimony. Like recently, my school is adopting a new approach in newsletters and bulletins. The news going home is written by students themselves. Why does it have to be always teacher reporting on learning? Why can it be students writing their own reflections on what they're learning? So agency, students, choice, ownership, this is how you make it happen. This is how they see it. When they see the impact of learning on their kids, this is when you have the buy-in. And when you have the buy-in, you have their trust, and then you can fly wherever you want with your
So what do we have next today? Tala, I'm going to share my screen before we wrap it up with you. So one more session in the morning, and we're going to talk about gradeless classroom. So you are invited to come and to see how we can also create this culture where learning is the focus and not the grades, and it's not about competition, it's about collaboration. In the afternoon session, our session will be more about practical application with a lot of examples from Rachel and from Nermeen, and then we will wrap up the day with an Arabic session. And unfortunately, it's a session in Arabic. One of the teacher in the chat, she was saying, Ali, can we have sessions on art and dance and music? So this is a visual art session, but in Arabic, about embedding the ATL in the art classroom. And if you are a French speaker, don't forget, every month we are doing a French meeting, interactive meeting about the ATL or EADA, donc in French. So feel free to join us to spread the word, and then to check our YouTube channel, because on the YouTube, all these webinars are available. And I know many schools now, they are using these webinars to do some mini PDs, asynchronous PD. And so you can see all the topics that we addressed. And this is the whole day about inclusion for the people who requested things on inclusion. It seems I have more questions, Tala. Are you ready?
Okay.
No, I don't think I have more questions. I had more comment in the chat. People are thanking us, and they are saying it was an inspiring webinar this morning.
Thank you, Ali. Thank you so much.
So a short break, and for all the people who would like to join us in the following session, we will be online in approximately 15 minutes. Thank you, Tala. Thank you, all the participants, and stay tuned. We still have a lot to be shared today in our ATL Day from 4th Generation for Education.
Thank you, Ali. Ali, is it possible to get the chat, what is in the chat box, downloaded? I would like to keep it. There are some good ideas here as well.
Very good. Okay, so we will do it.